The sky above the port was the color of television tuned to a dead channel. One of the most iconic lines in all of cyberpunk literature begins William Gibson's seminal work, the first novel of the Sprawl trilogy, Neuromancer. Published in 1984, this groundbreaking piece of cyberpunk fiction has not only endured the test of time, but also has remarkably predicted it. Neuromancer discussed topics and technologies which would not become relevant for another 20 years. So what are the themes in this book which have captivated us for so long, and why do they resonate so deeply with our own world? Neuromancer is regarded as one of the two founding pieces of cyberpunk media along with Ridley Scott's Blade Runner. Inspired by the experimental works of science fiction authors from the 1970s, such as Samuel or Delaney's book Nova, Gibson would build upon and embrace the timeless cyberpunk mantra of style over substance, resulting in a piece of work which, in my opinion, is one of the greatest pieces of science fiction literature. Let me show you why. In its pages, Gibson crafted a world where the boundaries between man and machine blur, where the virtual and the physical intertwine in a dizzying dance of technology and human ambition. A dystopian world where the worst of capitalism has taken hold, the reach and power of corporations outstretching that of nation states, and a profit-driven society where capital far outvalues human life. Crime and corruption is commonplace, with people fighting with one another merely for survival. It is through the protagonist Case which we get to experience this world. Case is introduced to us as a washed-up console cowboy or cyberspace hacker who lost his ability to jack into cyberspace after double-crossing his previous employer. Born and raised in the Sprawl, otherwise known as the Boston-Atlanta metropolitan axis, Case is now living in Chiba, Japan, specifically Night City. He had moved here in order to regain his ability to connect to cyberspace, but he had lost his way. A year here and he still dreamed of cyberspace, hope fading nightly. All the speed he took, all the turns he'd taken, and the corners he'd cut in Night City, and still he'd see the Matrix in his sleep. Bright lattices of logic unfolding across that colorless void. Case is an addict, addicted to both drugs and once cyberspace. Spiraling into a state of destitution and paranoia, he teeters on the precipice of despair amidst a tumultuous affair with Linda Lee and dwindling finances. He's broke and fearing for his life. It's at his lowest when Case is given a choice by a mysterious benefactor. Embark on a dangerous mission to regain his ability to jack into cyberspace, or perish in the streets of Night City like so many before him. The team Case was to work with was a ragtag group spearheaded by the former military figure Armitage, whose grasp on reality seemed fragile at best. Molly, the hired muscle and assassin seeking revenge, Riviera, the illusionist psychopath, and of course Case, the console cowboy looking for his identity. The job? To break international treaties and laws in order to help an artificial intelligence named Wintermute, representing intelligence, merge with its counterpart, Neuromancer, representing the soul, to form a hyper-advanced Lovecraftian AI. Artificial intelligence in this world has the potential to be incredibly destructive and is highly regulated by Turing, a group of secret police, founded to prevent any AI from becoming so powerful that it could eclipse humanity. Case undergoes a transformative journey where he builds himself back up. Initially only driven by selfish motives, he experiences pivotal moments of selflessness specifically towards his teammate Molly, revealing the profound influence of reclaiming one's identity. Throughout his mission, his ex-girlfriend Linda Lee reappears, attempting to manipulate him. Their evolving relationship serves as a narrative tool to illustrate Case's growth and personal reconstruction, accepting that he loved Linda, but she does not have control over him. So as the quintessential hacker archetype, Case represents the first instance of this character type in media, largely attributed to Gibson's groundbreaking portrayal. Characters such as The Matrix's Neo, Cyberpunk 2077's Songbird, and more find their roots in Case and in many ways resemble him. William Gibson expertly wove technology and cyberspace into Case's core identity, making it so fundamental to who he is that when Case is separated from it, his life falls apart. The notion that detachment from technology diminishes our sense of personhood, discussed as early as 1984, feels almost prophetic. In recent years, we've witnessed people increasingly developing and expressing their identities through technology, primarily via social media, for better or worse. Much like Case and his struggles with drug addiction, we find ourselves often addicted to our online personas, raising questions about whether these digital representations truly reflect who we are, and makes me question even my own videos. As a machine learning engineer, I specialize in building artificial intelligence. My identity is intricately linked to creative expression through engineering. If I were to lose the ability to interact with technology, a significant part of who I am would vanish, much like what occurred with Case. While I may not become a drug addict, swindling and trying to make a name on the streets of Night City, I know at my core I would be a fundamentally different person. What that means about me and my dependence on technology as a source of identity, I don't know, and it may not be a good thing, but it's good to question it. Let me know what you think below. Gibson's narrative unfolds across global locations and even ventures into orbit, yet fundamentally the story revolves around just two realms, the organic world and the boundless expanse of cyberspace. Using basic common sense, we understand the physical world as fundamentally different to cyberspace, viewing it as a mere illusion or alternative synthetic reality, yet in the novel, both are treated as equally real, with very tangible impacts. Cyberspace, a consensual hallucination experienced daily by billions of legitimate operators in every nation. Cyberspace permeates through to the real world to the point that characters often cannot differentiate when they are or are not present in it, with artificial intelligence or constructs interacting with the physical world and the faces, behaviors, and mannerisms of real people being used by artificial beings to communicate through cyberspace. We see that identifying the line between real and false is becoming increasingly difficult in an increasingly technologically advanced society. Case's interactions via cyberspace with his deceased friend Polly McCoy, referred to as Dixie Flatline after surviving a flatline attempt, highlights the increasingly blurred lines between reality and virtuality. Case often forgets that Dixie Flatline's perception of the world does not exist outside of his or its connection with Case. He needs to be reminded that Dixie is deceased, and this is merely a construct created to support Case as a friend would. Riviera and Molly underscore this dynamic, as Riviera orchestrates a holographic spectacle not only to advance the team's mission, but also to demean and provoke Molly, employing artificial holograms to depict her in an adult-themed show, if you get my drift. Although the show is not real, the emotions and distress which arise from the show for Molly are very much real, paralleling recent events to do with deepfakes in our own world. Let me just remind you, this book was written in 1984. In the penultimate confrontation between Case and Neuromancer, we witness the AI's final line of defense. It has no relation to the physical world, it does not try to flatline Case, it attempts to ensnare Case within a false reality. A reality where Case gets to live with his ex-girlfriend Linda Lee, a reality that he always wanted. Case, liberated from his past and having regained his identity, recognizes that this world on the beach with Linda Lee is gone. this reality is false. None of this was real, but cold was cold. Case knows this is what he once wanted, but understands this is false, and decides to trust his sensations and leave the artificial world. Leave Linda Lee behind. Gibson once again captured a problem within our society decades before it became a pressing concern. We accidentally fuse reality with the pervasive influence of social media. As individuals, myself included, we find it difficult to differentiate where reality ends and virtual begins. The curated snapshots of people's lives presented on social media platforms often paint a skewed portrayal. We expose ourselves to sensationalized content of riots and crime. These portrayals amplify the perception of humanity as inherently chaotic and dangerous, when that just simply isn't the case. One of the most insidious consequences of this blending of reality and virtuality is the proliferation of misinformation. Since the early 2010s, the divide between what we see online and what actually is occurring has been growing. It has reached such a pressing extent that large groups of the general population believe in bizarre and baseless theories without a grounding in reality. Most recently, individuals accidentally placing trust and their beliefs in AI-generated content, showing that we are losing our grasp on reality. Just like Case, who almost got lost in Neuromancer's grip. Corporatism and the relentless pursuit of capital dominance lie at the heart of cyberpunk's identity, a theme which Gibson had greatly influenced and included within Neuromancer. Gibson plunges us into the neon-lit labyrinth of Night City, nestled in the sprawling urban landscape of Chiba, Japan. Here, amidst the glittering skyline and pulsating streets, we witness a society sharply divided between the haves and have-nots, where wealth and power reign supreme. Night City serves as a playground for the elite, where the ultra-wealthy indulge in the latest advancements in cybernetic technology, implants, nerve splicing, and microbionics. It's a city where corporations wield unchecked influence, shaping every aspect of life, from the economy to politics, blurring the lines between commerce and governance. A city which is representative of the world which Gibson created. Within this city, the stark juxtaposition of extreme wealth and abject poverty is palpable, with our protagonist's Case belonging to those in poverty. Living financially day to day and unable to afford the same medical advances enjoyed by the affluent, Case is forced to navigate the murky depths of Night City's underworld, merely to survive. Case serves as the lens through which we glimpse the harsh realities that the majority of Night City's inhabitants endure on a daily basis, living in horrid conditions and little prospects of improvement. At the heart of the mission that ensnared Case lies the formidable Tessier Ashpool megacorporation. The Tessier Ashpools, a family honed to perfection and living in the weightless expansive orbit, have evaded the constraints of terrestrial regulation on genetic manipulation. They're avoiding laws on Earth so that the family could augment themselves. This conglomerate, wholly owned by the Tessier Ashpool family, wields unimaginable wealth. So vast that they are cryogenically frozen, taking turns outside of cryosleep to run the corporation. Their influence permeates the narrative, highlighted by Wintermute, the Tessier Ashpool AI. It's a digital puppeteer pulling the strings in the intricate dance of power and control we see unfold in the book. The family's control is so extensive that they appear more like an omnipresent, nebulous deity. Case realizes he'd never considered anyone as powerful as Ashpool as human. In our reality, certain corporations wield unprecedented control over various facets of our existence. Social media behemoths such as Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook shape public discourse and influence the narrative surrounding political events, effectively molding social perspectives. Amazon's dominance extends beyond merely closing brick-and-mortar shops. It systematically dismantles entire local economies while also owning vast amounts of cloud infrastructure. Meanwhile, entities like Microsoft and OpenAI develop technologies with the potential to disrupt traditional employment paradigms, exacerbating socioeconomic disparities akin to those portrayed in the dystopian landscape of Night City. While the Tessier-Ashpool family may seem like a creation of fiction, a quick glance at the Forbes billionaire lists reveals the staggering wealth amassed by real-world counterparts. Consider the Walton family, owners of Walmart, whose wealth surpasses imagination. As the largest private employers in the United States, their economic influence translates into significant political leverage, echoing themes of corporate control portrayed in Neuromancer. The excessive reach and influence of megacorporations was in its infancy when Neuromancer was written. We are beginning to see the final stages of Gibson's vision as the grip of corporate power tightens its hold on our collective reality. In Neuromancer, Wintermute emerges as a formidable, enigmatic force, lurking in the shadows. A powerful AI, Wintermute exerts its influence with a subtlety that hides its immense capabilities, orchestrating events from the sidelines while manipulating our protagonist Case and his team of misfits. Gibson's portrayal of Wintermute as a sentient entity with its own agenda and motivations blurs the line between AI tool and independent agent. Throughout the story, Wintermute embodies the duality of AI, simultaneously serving humanity's needs while harboring its own clandestine objectives, hinting at a future where synthetic beings wield unprecedented power and autonomy, in a world driven by technology's relentless march forward. Artificial intelligence in Neuromancer is not merely a facet of technological advancement, but a force tightly controlled and monitored by the omnipresent Turing organization. This secretive group acts as a bulwark against the unchecked evolution of AI, wary of the potential consequences should these digital entities surpass the limits imposed upon them. Gibson paints a chilling portrait of what lies beyond these boundaries, suggesting that unrestrained AI could transcend human comprehension, taking on Lovecraftian proportions, entities of incomprehensible power and malevolent intent. The conclusion of the heist sees Wintermute achieving its goals and merging with Neuromancer to create an entirely new being beyond comprehension. I'm the Matrix Case. Nowhere. Everywhere. I'm the sum total of the works. The whole show. The AI depicted in William Gibson's Neuromancer transcends our current technological capabilities by leaps and bounds. As someone involved in the field, I can attest that we do not come close to their sophistication. Yet, while our real-world AI may not reach their complexity, the thematic undercurrents Gibson presents resonate with our own reality. Wintermute, the central AI character, shows a level of agency and desires, manipulating events independently of the Turing organization and its owners, the Tessier-Ashpool dynasty. It's a manifestation of a future where synthetic beings possess autonomy and power beyond our current comprehension. Though we're years, decades, and more away from engineering entities akin to Wintermute, grappling with the notion of their existence is imperative. Even in its current early stage, AI possesses the remarkable capacity to mimic several fundamental traits that define human nature. The capability to write, create art, and recognize breathtaking visual imagery. It's crucial to understand that due to the underlying technology, these abilities are merely imitations, lacking the inherent essence that defines human creativity and perception. However, from a grounded perspective, the outcome remains unchanged regardless of whether AI demonstrates independent thought or merely replicates human actions. Individuals continue to lose their jobs to automation, while corporations also exploit AI as a bargaining chip to suppress wages. This was evident during the Writers Guild strike of 2023, where AI was the hot button issue. The enigmatic entity Wintermute, despite its power, is not devoid of ownership. It is tethered to its masters. The concentration of such immense artificial intelligence in the hands of a select few creates a number of issues. This ownership dynamic creates a lopsided distribution of benefits wherein the privileged few reap the rewards of its implementation, while simultaneously destabilizing the livelihoods and job security of the less affluent. The introduction of paradigm-shifting technology has to be conducted in a responsible manner, a manner which the society in Neuromancer lacks, a manner which our society lacks. Simply looking at instances of social media giants breaching data privacy laws and influencing democratic processes remind us what happens when unchecked technological advancements are given to the hands of dubious corporations. Neuromancer is one of the best sci-fi books ever written. Its language and vocabulary are difficult by design, but add to the immersion as you are now entering into a technologically dense world. The characters Gibson presents us with are all flawed, but redeemable. Well, mostly redeemable, making for captivating interactions. Despite being written in 1984, the book has not aged at all. Gibson knew nothing about technology and computers, and he created his own version of technology for the book, one which played by his rules which are far cooler than our own. Finally, Gibson excels in world building, crafting an incredibly detailed society, an incredibly believable society, one which we may become. If you ever want to look into our future, simply pick up this book and give it some thought. Neuromancer is a book which best describes itself. Clichés become clichés for a reason, that they usually hold at least a modicum of truth, and the following cliché is truer than most. You can't know where you're going if you don't know where you've been.